What is up, guys? My name is Meeps and welcome back for yet another League of Legends video. So today we're having a look at Graves, and as you guys can see, we are in the practice tool. The reason why we're here is because this video is solely focused on the mechanical aspect of playing Graves, meaning how his abilities work, the combos and the advanced combos, basically everything mechanically around him. For those of you who know all of this stuff, then I would strongly recommend you guys to go into the description of this video and follow the link to my other video for Graves that basically just focuses on the macro play and the play style of playing Graves in a game. So pretty much the decision making. But this video is only going to be focusing on the mechanical aspect of the champion. So yeah, this is really good for anyone who's new or anyone who knows the champion but want to ensure that they optimize their damage or that they know all of the flashy plays that you can do on him. So yeah, let's just kind of get into it. Just a slight side note, if you're sitting out there and you're enjoying this video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you would smash that like button and remember to subscribe down underneath. It really would help me out a lot. It's been insane to see the amount of support I've gotten lately, so thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for that. Yeah, it's been really ridiculous. And if you do want to see me live, then I live stream at twitch.tv/meeps_live. I stream every single Friday. Anyway, let's just kind of jump into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the one thing that everybody hates, the passive. I know you guys hate the passive ability because you're like, who the heck cares? But the thing is that the passive ability, as I see it, it's the most important one for almost every single champion. The reason for this is that the passive tells us exactly how the champion likes to be played. And yeah, Graves is not really an exception for this rule. I'm sorry, guys. I'll try and make this as pain-free as I can. Anyway, Graves' passive ability is what is called New Destiny. And New Destiny basically just describes Graves' basic attacks. And I know this sounds kind of boring, but it's actually really cool. You need to know this passive in and out in order to actually maximize the damage when playing this champion, because it makes a big difference. But basically, New Destiny, it describes, first of all, like basically how his basic attacks work. The first thing we can talk about is that you can basically see this this shell underneath his health bar, and this basically just shows how many shots there are left before Graves has to reload his shotgun. So he has 2 shots in his chamber and then he has to reload. If he shoots one of them and waits for a moment, then he's automatically gonna reload the other one. So this is kind of cool. Inside each of these shells, so he has 2 shells. Inside each of these, there are 4 to 6 bullets. I know this sounds kind of strange. Why would there be 4 to 6? Well, the reason for this is that there are 4 in a normal shot, but 6 in a critical strike. So if you critical strike, there is gonna be 6 bullets. So right here, you can see it with normal shots. Let's just get that scuttle crab out of the way. With the normal attacks here, you can see there is just 4 shots. You can basically see the bullets flying out here. You can see them in this cone. This is fairly simple. With the critical strike, this cone will be 50% wider and you'll have 2 more bullets on it. The thing with this one is that if I put up another 2 dummies here and I start shooting, you will notice that I will actually be hitting all 3 targets with my basic attacks. And that's because the bullets do spread in a cone, but they don't all hit my target. There's actually right now only 2 bullets. You can see this if we zoom in. Only 2 of the bullets are hitting this front target, while 2 others are hitting the back targets. And now you might wonder, but why is there such a difference between damage, and how does this actually work? Well, the thing is with the passive here, the New Destiny, is that the first bullet on any target from Graves' shotgun deals full damage. So that's why we see this 54 damage on the 2 back ones. And then every bullet or every subsequent, so every bullet after the first one on a target only deals 1/3 of that damage. And that's why we see that we're dealing 72 damage on the middle one, the one we're targeting here, is because we have 2 bullets hitting this target. So we have the full damage from the first one and then a 1/3 from the second one, adding up to a total of 72. So that's basically how that works. And then you might look at me now and be like, why do I need to know this and how do I optimize the damage? Well, if you're going for a single target fight, then you want to hit with all of the bullets. How do you do this? Simply enough, you get closer to your target. You can see if I stand right here on top of this target, more or less, I'm 100% sure that all of my bullets are hitting, and therefore we deal full damage, which in this case is 109. If I walk a little out, still 109. If I walk all the way back here, I only deal 72 again. So basically, you kind of got to learn the distance you need to be at in order to deal the full damage. But this is really, really cool. One thing you should also note is that if you are attacking a turret, you deal 25% less damage on the turret. But again, get up close to the turret in order to deal the most damage, because all of your bullets are then going to hit the target. So yeah, that is actually most of this one. When you crit strike, as I said, there are going to be 6 bullets instead of 4 as we see here. It's going to be 50% wider, and it's also going to deal 40% bonus physical damage. If you have Infinity Edge, it's going to deal 60% bonus, but that is a minor detail. But that's basically all for that one. Just a small thing you need to know extra is that attack speed actually increases the attack speed between the 2 shots, which is fairly obvious, but it also slightly reduces the time it takes Graves to basically, what do you say, reload. It basically takes shorter time, which is really cool. All right, so now let's talk about a Q, the next ability, which is really, really cool. It's one of my favorites. So we'll just take a few levels up here so that we can easier show things off. I'll take auto refresh cooldowns on for now, full mana, all this stuff. Our next ability is what is called End of the Line. This is Graves Q. It's freaking awesome. I'll just walk up here. It makes it a little easier to show it. But if we take our Q and we fire it off in the distance, it basically just fires off this missile that goes to the end of it. Like, you can't control how far it goes. It will always travel max range. But whenever you fire it, then at the end of it, the missile will deal damage to the target as it travels in this line. And then once it reaches the end of the line, then this missile will basically drop down after 2 seconds, and it'll kind of travel back and deal the damage in basically a T shape like here. The explosion or the detonation on the way back as such actually deals significantly more damage, almost double the damage of on the way out. So you really want to be dealing damage by making this detonate on your target. The way you can do this a lot easier is actually by throwing it into walls, because if you throw it into a wall, it's gonna detonate after 0.25 seconds instead of the normal 2 seconds. So you can see the difference for fire Q over there versus right here. You can see basically it just like that's the thing it does, while over here it bounces up, fires down, boom, back. So ideally with this Q, in order to deal the most damage, or not the most, but in order to ensure that you deal the full damage, you want to be using this up against a wall. So you really want to try and hit your targets like that. We'll talk about that in the combos, how you can actually easier do this. But this is all the Q does. It's a very cool ability. All right, our next ability is what is called Smoke Screen. And Smoke Screen is also a really, really nice ability. First of all, it does deal a bit of damage if you cast it on a target. You can see it does deal a pretty decent chunk of damage. But apart from that, the really cool thing with this one is that it obstructs vision when you cast it on a target. So if they're inside the smoke screen, they won't be able to see anything outside of it. So anything outside this ring, if they're in it, they won't be able to see. This is one of those cases where with your smoke screen, it can be a really good idea for you, even though you're only attacking one target, to not go fully up close, because you can stand outside this ring, shoot at them, and they won't be able to shoot that back because they can't see you. But that aside, the smoke screen is just really cool because, first of all, it obstructs their vision. They can't see anything outside this ring. It also slows the target's movement speed by 50%, and this movement speed decrease or slow also is applied for another 0.5 seconds after they leave the cloud. So even when they walk out of this 0.5 or 0.5 seconds after, they will still be slowed. This is pretty cool, and you can use this smoke screen for kind of a lot of things, to be honest. First of all, it has a super long range, in my opinion. So when you're fighting a target, pretty often if they're fleeing away from you and you know it's a winning fight, what you can do is you can actually just place it where they're about to run through. Like if they don't have flash, let's say we're chasing this dude and they don't have flash, and we put up the smoke screen behind here, they only have one option, that's walking all the way through our smoke screen, which is not only gonna obstruct their vision, but it's also gonna slow them. And if they walk all the way through from start to end, that's a pretty long slow. Gonna make it a lot easier for us to kill it. So in certain situations, it's not best to throw it on top of the target, but a lot of times it will be, because it also deals damage. All right, so that is basically everything that I wanted to talk about in terms of the smoke screen. Just one note that the duration of it is 4 seconds, so it's actually pretty long. All right, so our next ability is what is called Quickdraw, and this is one of those abilities that a lot of people don't really know that much about. Like, they get the fuss of it, but they don't really get the full thing of it. First of all, what Quickdraw does is that it allows you to do a dash. The dash distance can be adaptive, meaning that you can do it a bit longer or a bit shorter, but it has a minimum range that still is kind of significant. But the cool thing with this one is, first of all, whenever you use your dash, then it automatically reloads Graves' gun with another shell. So if we have one shell used here and we use the dash, you can see that it reloads a shell, which is really cool. Additionally, this Quickdraw, your E, is what we commonly refer to as an auto attack reset. This basically means that if you do an auto attack, do an E, and then auto attack again, you will instantly auto attack. Instead of this, normally there's like a time between two auto attacks, like you can see here. He basically does doof, doof. So there's like a short time between. An auto attack reset ignores this, so it instantly attacks after. So you can do basically, yeah, you can do an auto attack faster. I hope that kind of makes sense. All right, so now to the part that people don't really understand. And that is that whenever you use your dash, then you get this true grit, as it's called. The basics of it are pretty simple. It just gives Graves a little bit of armor for a short time. You can see down here right now it gives us 12 armor. So 6 armor per stack. You can get up to 8 stacks of this true grit. So if we pop it a couple of times, you'll see here now we have 4 stacks giving us 24 armor. And you might think, well, isn't this kind of weird? There's a kind of a long cooldown on this dash. Like, how do I get more of them without them running out? Well, first of all, the true grit stacks, you get 1 stack if you just dash. You get 2 stacks if you dash towards an enemy champion. So let's say that we dash towards this dummy, and you can see we get 2 stacks. If we dash upwards where there's nothing, let's just reset cooldowns, then you'll see we get 1. We only get 1 every time. Dash 2 targets, then we get 2, and 1 going upwards. All right, so every time we dash after a champion, then, or an enemy champion, then we get 2 stacks. Fairly simple. There is another thing with this one, and that is basically every time we auto attack, then it is gonna reset 0.5 seconds off our quick draw cooldown. So basically, let's use the cooldown right here. You can see every time we auto attack, it basically starts giving us a bit of this cooldown back, which is really, really cool. And actually gets, I phrased that a little wrong. You get 0.5 seconds cooldown reset on your quick draw for every bullet that hits not every shell. So this means that if you critical strike and you have 6 bullets in one of these shells, then you are actually going to reset the cooldown with 3 seconds straight off the bat. So this is a really cool one. So you really want to be thinking about this, that the more bullets that hit the target, the faster you get your quick draw back. And the more stacks of your armor you can get. Because the only way to get this true grit is by using your dash. The way you uphold the stacks is actually that just by using your auto attacks or your abilities or something on a target, then it's going to keep your stacks going. It's just going to refresh them. It's not going to put on more. It just refreshes it, which is kind of cool. Every time you attack a champion or a monster. So a monster is something like these, like the Scuttle Crab, the Rift Herald, the minions in the jungle. And that's something you'll notice as we play this in the other guide in the macro game, how we keep up our stacks of armor, because it actually means a lot when clearing out the jungle in terms of staying healthy. And it's also something that can really make sure that you can duel the other jungler or someone else and actually kill them fairly easy, because you're gonna have this enormous armor buff. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about for the E. Just one other thing that you need to know is that you can go over terrain with this ability, which is really freaking effective. You can do it basically, like, there are so many places to go over edges with it. We'll talk a bit more about that in the combo section, but just know that you can dash over terrain with it, which is really nice. All right, so now let's talk about our last ability, and that is our ult. It's called Collateral Damage. Yes, it's really cool. So what Collateral Damage does is basically, let's take off this quick cast so we can show it off. It's basically that it allows you to shoot out this this big explosive shot that it deals damage to the first target it hits, and then once it hits a target or it reaches the end of its range, then it basically explodes into a cone that does AoE damage to anything in that cone. And that's what you can see on the cast preview here, is you can see the line. If we cast it down here, you'll see boom, and then it basically explodes and it deals AoE damage all the way down here. But the first line only deals damage to the first target it hits. If it hits a target, then it's going to explode the cone at that point. It's not going to proceed to the end. So let's say if we cast it right here, you'll see that it just instantly explodes, dealing damage to all of these behind. But it dealt more damage to the first target because that one took the damage from the initial line. So you deal damage to the first target that it hits, and then the explosive portion deals to anything in the cone, including that target. So boom, you can see it's pretty freaking cool. It's a really nice ability. But that's more or less all it does. It does have a knockback that knocks back Graves slightly, which is actually really effective. A lot of people think this is a bad thing. It really isn't. If I go down here, you can actually see that we can push ourselves over the edge with it. So we can actually use this for like a mobility purpose, which is absolutely insane. So this is something that we're going to talk about in just a moment as we get into some of the more advanced combos, how you can actually do this. But this is everything we needed to know about the abilities. Now let's talk about the combos. We'll start with some of the bit more kind of soft things that you need to know, and then work our way up to what some of the more advanced combos. So let's first take the abilities on here so we can see them. So the first thing I just want to mention here again is that if you want to 1v1 somebody, generally speaking, you want to get up close to them in order to deal damage with all of your bullets in the shells. This deals the most DPS compared to standing at a distance. You can see we deal a lot less damage. If we go over here, as we talked about earlier, then you can see that basically we're going to hit the targets behind, but we actually have 2 shells going that is missing our target. So we only deal 139 damage instead of going up close and dealing 208. Of course, if you are playing against somebody and you're popping on your smoke screen, then it can be an advantage in a 1v1 to not go inside the smoke screen for maximum damage, but just keeping your distance and deal the damage that you can without entering the smoke screen, because they can't fire back if they're inside it unless they have skill shots. So this is a really nice thing to do. But generally speaking, for 1v1s, you want to get up close to your target in order to deal the most damage. If you are, however, fighting and there's a lot of targets, it can be better to just keep your distance in order to just maximize DPS, meaning damage per second, because that way you can hit more than one target at a time, and that will in turn increase the overall damage that you deal. But you won't get a single target down as fast. But overall, it can be worth it, but it's a very subjective thing for when that's necessary and when it's not. But it's the way to deal the most damage in the shortest amount of time. All right, so that aside, let's start talking about the rest. As you guys remember, we can dash over walls. Super important you guys remember that with the dash. We'll combine it with our ult in a moment for an insane assassination combo that I personally freaking love, man. I love this thing. But let's first talk about our Q flash. So generally speaking, as we talked about earlier, your Q, you really want to hit this into a wall in order to make it explode instantly and get this this extra or this secondary damage from the ability. So when you're playing, it can be a big advantage if you have a bad angle to use your flash. So basically flash and Q it into the wall in order to deal the most damage. You're going to be using this very often on Graves. Like the flash Q is really good to just flash over here, smash it into the wall. It's literally insane. It literally is. So you can see basically it does not make sense for us to cast a Q and flash because it's still going to do the same thing. You want to do flash and then into a Q. Wow. You want to do a flash and the Q into the wall such that you smash this this end of the line into the wall right here. So you want to flash the side, smash it into the wall. Fairly simple. You can do the same more or less with your ult, but there's no idea in firing into a wall because your ult just flies through. It does not collide with walls, so there's no point firing it into the wall. But it is a good idea for you to do like flash ult plays. That can be really effective. And you can also do ult into flash, which is really nice. So you can basically see this is a less common thing to use compared to the Q flash, and you got to be really quick with it because you can do ult flash. But the thing is, if you do this ult first and then flash, then you have to click flash pretty much instantly as you click the ult, because otherwise it won't work. Because if you do, you can see if I click it and then wait for a second, I won't be able to fire it off before after. I won't be able to flash because once you are knocking yourself back, it counts kind of like a stun. So you got to hit it before the knockback in order to do your ult into a flash. So you can do like this. This is a really cool trick. You can see half of the time I'm even too slow because I'm underestimating it. And you can also do it basically in other directions and stuff. It's a pretty cool trick. But again, not really the thing that you're going to be using the most. The Q flash is much more heavily used. This is mostly going to be to catch up to somebody in terms of range. If this is not far enough range on your ult, then flashing after them can be a good idea in order to just gain a little extra range. But that's kind of it for that one. All right, so now to my absolute favorite combo. This is the one combo that I think is absolutely amazing. So what this combo is what I basically call like an assassination combo. Because what we want to do is that we want to dash down here. So we dash over the wall. Then we do a W. So basically our target won't be able to see us. Then we do an auto attack into a Q, into an auto attack. And then we do our ult to fire ourselves back over. So imagine that maybe their jungler right here is trying to gank our mid laner. We have vision on him. We come walking down here. Then we dash over the wall. We do a W, do a tower attack Q, and then we ult back over. So basically, come down, W, auto attack, Q, auto attack, ult. This is such a strong combo because you do insane amount of damage in a split second. So you do dash, W, auto attack, Q, auto attack, ult. And you can see they won't be able to see us because they're inside this smoke screen. They're gonna get surprised. Like, most people are probably either gonna die or instant flash when this combo hits them, because they can't see you because of the smoke screen. And even if they go out of it, they might still not see you unless they have vision up here. So you just do this combo and you can just like basically smash them really hard. It's so fun to do. All right, so that is my favorite combo. I hope you guys can enjoy that one. Apart from that, there's just like basic stuff that are just auto attack E, Q, and just like fairly simple stuff. Combine these things as you're like as necessary. It's going to be very dependent on the situation, but the thing you do want to think a lot about with Graves is that you want to use your E after you've shot off an auto attack, because this reloads your gun. So it's pretty important for you to use it afterwards, and it also resets the auto attack timer. So make sure that you use it after and then combine it with your Q. It's just basically really nice. And use the E also for repositioning, and make sure that you keep an eye on these stacks. If you're chasing after somebody, it can be a really good idea to use something like a scuttle on the way, to just fire off a shot as you're running after your target, not only to keep up your true grit stacks, but also to kind of get some cooldown back on your quick draw. So yeah, that is kind of that one. But yeah, a combo wise, you can do like a Q flash into an auto attack, into an ult, into E to basically, so you use your E to kind of make up for the knockback of your ult. So you can do kind of a lot of cool things with this one. But yeah, I think this is kind of overall, like if you learn this combo up here, this is going to teach you kind of the best things that you can do, in my opinion, on Graves. Because if you know this one, you kind of know the basics for the rest of all this stuff. Most of the other stuff are so dependent on the situation and just firing off. You really want to hit your Qs into the wall, so use your E to position for that. Use your E to reload the gun, and use your W to maybe keep the target. If they're close to a wall, throw this W down such that they can't see you, and also for the slow effect, so you have a better timing on your Q. That can be really advantage. Or if you're not able to get them close to a wall to do your Q, then throw the smoke screen on top of them, or to a place where they have to run through, such that you can pop your Q on top of that one, and it most likely will get the damage also on the way back on the secondary damage. Anyway, that is pretty much going to be all for the mechanics of Graves. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. If you did, then make sure to smash that like button. It really does help me out a lot. And if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that down below. And yeah, when you've now gotten through the whole mechanic side of it, I would strongly recommend you to go to the description of this video or the end card. There's a link to the other Graves video, which only focuses on the macro game of playing Graves. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you see you in the next one. As always, stay awesome, have fun, and take it easy, guys.